So I saw her vision for it, and I immediately was like, hey, look, I'm gonna quit my job. But I had literally just got off of social media, deleted my page, and then my wife came up with the idea of Black Book, and I was like, oh man, I was like.
So using social media to basically promote the businesses is kind of the main piece of it, and y'all go and create content for them and then put it on your platform.
Just kind of having that foundation of operating in excellence in everything that we do. Excellence is the standard, you know? So when you have excellence as the standard, I mean, you're gonna do everything.
It feels like home to me because this is the first place I've ever been to where Black excellence is celebrated, but it's also backed up by just cold, hard facts.
Yeah. Black Book is really, like you asked me, is it a chamber? It's really an ecosystem. It's a community.
Cool. Well, hey, y'all, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast. Thanks for checking in again with us. This podcast is dedicated to helping entrepreneurs grow their faith and their business. We want you to be all that God has called you to be. And so we're going to bring you guests, experts, business leaders, community leaders who can answer your most pressing questions, encourage your faith, challenge you. And today we have Houston royalty. I mean, Mr. Jeremy Kraft with Blackbook Houston, a renowned Houston brand, is in the studio today. So we're excited to talk about some marketing stuff, how to support small businesses, faith. So let's go ahead and get started. Cool. Well, hey, man, welcome to the Blueprint Podcast.
Thank you. I mean, I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think I've been following your brand for a while. We have a lot of mutual friends. Rashid Tillis is one of the Right Time Solutions. I definitely seen you working with him, and saw you on social media. I was like, man, let me just shoot my shot real quick and see if I can get this dude. And then I ran into you at Battle of the Bands, and so I think it's just really cool when a plan comes together, man.
Absolutely.
So glad we were able to make it happen and quick, man. Like you're a busy dude, so I appreciate you just getting me on your schedule. I have some guests where I gotta schedule them 3 months in advance. So I appreciate you making time for us today. And so why don't you just introduce yourself for those people who don't know about Blackbook Houston, don't know about Jeremy Kraft. Who are you and what you do?
Got you, man. I wear a lot of different hats, but we're here for Blackbook today. We'll kind of get into some other stuff as well.
Okay.
But I'm the COO of Blackbook, co-owner as well.
Okay.
My wife is the CEO.
Okay.
Shout out to the boss lady. But Blackbook Houston, we're Houston's largest Black business directory. We have over 1,300 businesses that we represent. We help them with their advertising, their marketing, just increase their visibility, try to do our best to increase their revenue as well.
Okay.
And provide them with different resources so that they're successful, sustainable, and scalable.
Okay. And I want to get into kind of the origin story, but I kind of first want to get a better understanding in terms of how y'all are helping. Because I mean, I look at it and it kind of looks almost kind of like a chamber of commerce to some degree in terms of kind of like, is that what it is, or am I maybe not? Like, what is it?
I would say it is in a sense kind of a chamber of commerce. The inception of it was not supposed to be that.
Okay.
But we just kind of like gravitated to that because we saw a need for it, right? And when I say a chamber of commerce, we provide those resources, right? We create workshops, we develop opportunities to really help these businesses. But overall, we were a directory. It started with my wife. It was her idea. My background is actually civil engineering.
Okay.
So,
bro, why is every entrepreneur in Houston was a civil engineer? What is going on?
Yeah, they was either civil engineer, computer engineer, something along the lines of engineering, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to the engineers out there. It was just boring for me.
Y'all was out there, bro. Like, as a matter of fact, the studio we in right now is owned by a civil engineer. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
So, man, I was in civil engineering. We got started in August of 2019. My wife came up with the idea. It was during Black Restaurant Week. She heard about Lucille's being blacked on during a radio advertisement.
Okay.
And she was like, I never heard of Lucille. So she was like, and my wife is like an entrepreneur at heart. That's all she does. Her background is actually biology.
Okay.
But she's never worked in the field of biology a day in her life.
Interesting.
She's just been an entrepreneur this whole time.
Yeah.
So she was like, if they don't know about Lucille, she was like, how many people know about, me making cakes or any other small businesses out there? So she was like, I'm gonna create a list. I was like, okay, cool, like do it. So, she started doing it. But again, as my background, civil engineering, project management, things of that nature, business development, I'm like, man, there's things that I'm learning in corporate America that we can incorporate into what you're doing with Blackbook. So I saw her vision for it, and I immediately was like, hey, look, I'm gonna quit my job. Wow. So October
So you're already making money at this point when you quit your job, or was this like, hey, like we just taking a
Nah,
risk?
we wasn't even making money. So
Mhm.
so check it out. The first year we did everything for free.
Wow.
Everything for free for an
Okay.
entire year.
And that was like
And
doing what? Y'all were like just reposting stuff, or like what were
no,
y'all doing?
that was us reposting. That was us creating a directory. It
Mhm.
cost nothing to be listed. Now we charge people to be listed on the platform.
Right.
But nobody was being charged at that time. We was
Mhm.
coming out shooting videos for free,
Okay.
uploading it to YouTube. Our YouTube was going crazy. People were seeing businesses and like, oh wow, I never heard about this business and
Mhm.
supporting it. So we didn't charge for any of that.
Wow.
Making sure that businesses had increased visibility through
Mhm.
us.
Yeah.
So just doing everything for free. As we were doing that, I started noticing, and we just wasn't shooting content. We were developing relationships with business owners.
Okay.
So I'm the type of person like, hey, what do you need? How can I serve you better? And one of the common things was people didn't have marketing, they didn't have access to capital, or there was the lack of access to capital or a lack of information to the access of capital, right? So as I'm hearing these things, I'm starting to think of different ways that we can expand Black Book, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of grown. So
Yeah. Okay.
within that first year, we probably had about 330 businesses.
Okay.
Now we have over 1,300.
Gotcha. Okay. And mainly so using social media to basically promote the businesses is kind of the
Absolutely.
main piece of it. And y'all go and create content for them and then put it on your platform.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
we have an online directory, but we also have a physical directory that we publish as well.
Okay, gotcha. It's like a
Yeah.
magazine or something that
Yeah,
y'all distribute.
it's a hardcover book. It's
Okay.
really nice quality. People
cool.
put it in their coffee tables.
Yeah.
There's been some in hotels.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice. People put it in their storefronts as well. So
Wow, man, that's incredible. So one thing that I appreciate about you guys is the professionalism of it. Because at times, like on the Instagram, it kind of models like a shout out page to some degree, right? Like, hey, here's this business, here's what they're doing. And I've seen that concept done and monetized before. But typically those guys are like hustle. Hey man, send me 25 and I'll post you to my 200,000. You know what I mean? It kind of like, like this looks like they'll post anything, right? So you guys have standards and it feels like, okay, this is actually helping people grow their business. You got the website, the directory, like there's product behind it, there's thoughtfulness behind it. So it feels like, okay, this is something that I could trust, right? So how did y'all develop that? And how did y'all kind of grow this to be something, worth people putting their time on? Because like, hey, you can promote a business and like, if you don't have a platform, it doesn't really matter because nobody knows about who you are. It don't matter. Like, you know what I mean? So how did y'all get it to a place where people like respect it and are like, okay, I should pay to be on this platform. You know what I mean?
Got you. Like you said, a lot of times you see these shout out pages, and we saw them as we began developing Black Book, and I was just like, we don't want to be that, right?
Yeah.
We've always just had a standard of operating in excellence, no matter what it is that we're doing. You know what I mean? So, it's just like from our personal life to our professional life, it's always about operating in excellence. I think a lot of times businesses get carried away and having a great product that they oftentimes believe that just because I'm this great, we'll do the restaurant industry just because I cook food amazingly.
Yeah.
Right. I have these amazing pork chops.
Yeah.
Right. That people are going to just come and support me. And it's like, no, man, you got to have customer service. You got to know how to really operate a business. Your books have to be together. Like, it's so much to running a business. So just kind of having that foundation of operating in excellence in everything that we do. Excellence is the standard, so when you have excellence as the standard, I mean, you're going to do everything at excellence, from events to posts to, how you write your emails, how do you communicate with people? Everything is done at excellence, and we pride ourselves on that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you mentioned just the grind that y'all had to go through to kind of build the platform. So talk about so let's kind of rewind a little bit and talk about, I guess, what was the chronological timeline? Okay, so your wife starts building the list.
Yep.
Okay, you start seeing some potential, and then you're like, okay, I see some potential in this. You quit your job. Were y'all already like posting a whole bunch at that point, or was it like at the very beginning that you kind of like, y'all like, hey, we're gonna do this together?
Man, what's crazy is me and my wife, we got married July 22nd, 2018.
Okay.
So that first year we had a business called Perfectly Crafted, where we were designing shirts, apparel, just like custom mugs, like whatever it was, and like that craft field, because we just like, we want to have a business together.
Yeah.
Right. So that was like our first test run of like running a business together. So with that, we didn't really have a strong social media presence. We really wasn't tapped into social media heavily with Perfectly Crafted. And I honestly was getting bored with like Instagram. I was like, man, I'm married now. I don't need to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
Let me kind of just, transition, out of that, because I was getting a lot of unwarranted attention, you know what I mean, being on social media and all that kind of stuff. So as I was developing in this new phase of, you know, being married, I was like, I don't need social media. But I also seen the power and the magnitude of social media. But I had literally just got off of social media, deleted my page, and then my wife came up with the idea of Black Book, and I was like, oh man, I was like, I gotta get back on social media. It just makes sense. So got back on social media. Like I said, we started August 2019. Was probably posting like 6 times a day. So we was posting 6 times a day consistently for about, I would say 5 or 6 months. And then we kind of like dumped it down to three times a day. So we posted 3 times a day consistently for a year.
Wow. Were y'all splitting that up, like, or was like, is it one of y'all was like you were doing the content she was posting, or what was kind of
it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
It was a little bit of both. I think during that time it was probably like 50-50. But like now my wife gets on me all the time because she does a lot of the content stuff, and I'm more the person that's like on the scene. But it worked.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We posted a different business every single day, a different business or a different entrepreneur. I don't remember the days, but it was like money making Mondays. So it was like all your financial experts, all this kind of stuff. We would highlight a business. It was a talent Tuesday. So we have like artists, whether it's music, visual, like whatever artists. And then Wednesdays was, I think it was like Wisdom Wednesdays or something like that. Wednesday was just like a random like person. Thursdays was something. Foodie Fridays, so you get your food businesses, restaurants, all that. Shop with Me Saturday was just like a business that, you know, you could go shop with. And then Sunday was a highlight video. So we did a highlight video. So every week I was going out, we was recording a business, and on Sunday it was dropping.
And were you already like, did you know how to create content? Were you a videographer?
Nah,
or something?
bro.
You
Like
on
we
your phone, or
we
what?
was using the iPad Pro.
Wow,
you know what I mean?
bro.
And then now I go out, you know, my Sony A7 III. I shoot and record. I would say about 90% of the videos now. I recorded, edited, chopped it up, all that kind of stuff. So we do everything like.
Dang. And y'all grew to like what? Like y'all are like 40 something thousand on Instagram?
We're at 40,000 now. I think during that time, I remember we were super excited. We got our first 10,000. It was just like, man, we doing it. It was like we doing it. But I think once we hit that 10,000 threshold, it just kind of took off from there.
Okay, got you. Okay, so like, what is you know, fast forward in 2024? How has the business changed? Is the business model still the same? I guess is the value proposition still the same? I guess kind of how is it evolved?
It's evolved from us going to find the businesses to now a lot of the businesses come to us. Back to that chronological order though, the thing that really hit it off for us was COVID. When COVID hit, we already had published our first book, which had 300 businesses in there. We called All the Businesses. You know, this is where the grind comes in, the work ethic. Like everybody see the pretty picture, but it's like, bro, you got to be ready to grind. Like you got to be ready to get it, right? So we called all 300 of the businesses and say, hey, are you still open? And if you are open, what are your hours? Created a customized list of the businesses that were still open, their hours and all that kind of stuff. Called the radio station. We called 97.9 The Box. Hardbody Kiati was with 97.9 during that time.
Wow.
And he gravitated to the whole idea, you know what I mean? And he's been a huge supporter since then as well. Wow. So he gave us a shout out on the radio. Stuff started blowing up. Right after that, George Floyd incident took place. He was murdered. People in Houston wanted to do a Blackout Tuesday. Oh, not just Houston, around the nation. It was like, we're going to have this Blackout Tuesday. We shopping black owned. But then people was like, okay, how do we find black businesses, right? So Fox 26, they took our list. They started promoting it as well, and then everybody's just like, oh, Black Book Houston, okay, and then that's how it, you know, kind of took off.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's incredible. Okay, and so then now because at that point you guys were still doing it for free, right? Like
at that point,
in COVID, when it kind of really took off, or were y'all kind of maybe like, hey, it's a small
fee we were still doing it for free.
Okay.
Up until August 1st, 2020, and then that's when we started charging.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, did it feel like, were y'all challenged by that? I mean, you know, 3 or 4 years of doing it for free, did it feel like, oh damn, I don't want to go back and, you know?
Nah, so the first year of doing it free, I was, you know, I you know, we still had some money saved up from when I was doing engineering. So like I didn't mind, you know, just like me, this is a way to give back to the community. But then I was just like, man, this isn't sustainable if we keep doing it for free.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, we gotta charge. We have to.
Yeah.
We didn't want to at first because we didn't feel like it almost kind of felt like taking advantage of the culture, but then I realized like, no, the culture needs to pour into us as well if we're gonna keep this going, because we're doing something valuable for the culture. And if people don't gravitate to it and they don't want to pay, then that's not our customer. That's not our clientele. The people who see the vision and who want to support the culture and see the culture win, they don't mind paying. And it's been a great experience, honestly, because like you asked how the value proposition changed. It changed because it's like, hey, we now provide uh videos for you. We could come shoot your content for you. At one point, we was managing people's social media pages because they needed help in that area. Um, so with all of that being said, people find value in that, right? Some people look at us and they come on our page and they be like, man, that y'all charge too much for this or y'all charge too much for that, right? Like for example, like our gala, people see our gala tickets and table prices and sponsorships, and people get intimidated. But the people who go to the nicer upper echelon galas, they don't mind paying that price because one, it's a reasonable price, and two, sometimes they pay for galas that's more expensive than that. You talk about operating excellence, and again, we pride ourselves on operating excellence. So when people do come to our gala, they're very impressed, and they like, oh wow, I see why you charge what you charge. It makes sense.
I love that. The excellent, the standard, and I mean, I think, understanding who you're for is so important, and who you're attracting. So with that, has the type of businesses that you serve changed, or is it kind of like people have now just adjusted their expectations of what it looks like to be promoted? You know what I mean?
I think people have adjusted their expectations. I also believe that we are reasonable people, and we're relatable people. Right. So I come from a corporate background. I'm not a hood dude or anything like that. I grew up in the suburbs. Me and my wife are high school sweethearts. We grew up, you know what I'm saying, on the east side of Houston. I feel like it's a very interesting demographic because I always kind of laugh at some of my classmates who try to act hood or they try to be gangster and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, your parents are from, the hood. They moved to the suburbs to try to give you a better lifestyle and opportunity. So why are you trying to be hood? Right. But I can relate to that demographic as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can go to the streets. I can go into the hoods if I want to. You know what I mean? And I can talk to the corporate people as well because I know how to navigate that space. So I think Black Book Houston is very interesting because we have both demographics. Like you come to our gala, that first portion of the gala, my ratchet friends are talking about it's boring. You know what I'm saying? My corporate friends are enjoying it, the hospitality. And then it switches over to that kind of ratchetness,
so it's more of a party toward the end.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a good time, man. We have a good time.
That.
And that's what I'm about. I think it gets intimidating on a corporate side for corporate people because when I kick down the door, I'm bringing my people in. So at the gala, you have a very interesting demographic. You have businesses who are making, close to $1 million in revenue a year. You have some who are making that easily, some who are making $100,000 a year, some who are just getting started and they may not, they may only make 30, 40,000 a year, but they all in the same room having a good time, mixing, mingling, networking. And you a conversation away from, brokering a huge deal for yourself.
So, absolutely. What is y'all's approach to marketing, to content? I guess, how do you promote a business? Because obviously the social media landscape has changed.
It has.
In terms of when y'all were posting on Instagram in 2018, 2019, the algorithm was different.
Right.
Even what the platform catered to was different. Now you got vertical video. And then, even just recently, now Instagram's promoting carousels and the type of content that you create. So what is y'all's take? What is the strategy in terms of how you create content?
The strategy for that, I'm gonna tell you, I got a secret weapon. Her name is Rashika Craft. That's my wife. She stay up to date on all that stuff. She tells me before, but it's just keeping up with the trends, like you said, understanding the algorithm, understanding hey, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work.
And I'm sure y'all are heavy on TikTok too, right? I mean, with the food posts and stuff. I'm sure y'all crushing it over there.
She killing it on TikTok. We just went to Austin. We went to Austin a few months ago, maybe last month, and she just had a TikTok that went viral for a black-owned restaurant out there.
Okay. Okay, so y'all are expanding out of Houston as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, you've been doing it long enough. You're gonna hit everybody
Yeah.
at some point.
As quiet as it's kept, and I'll go ahead and say it. I say it on your podcast. You get an exclusive.
Oh, okay.
You get an exclusive. As quiet as it's kept, we have an app. People do know about the app, but if you open that app in Atlanta, businesses are gonna pop up.
Okay.
If you open that app in New Orleans, businesses are gonna pop up. If you open that app in Dallas, so I told you we had 1,300 businesses in Houston, but we also have Black Book Dallas, we have Black Book Atlanta, we have Black Book New Orleans.
And y'all run that, or do y'all have teams in those cities that
no,
are kind of
so
doing
so that's the thing. I really don't promote it because it's not at a level just yet. So kind of like how when Uber released, they waited till they had a certain amount of drivers in the cities before they said, hey, we're in this city.
Yeah.
And we're kind of taking that same concept in terms of, all right, let's get a certain amount of businesses registered and sign up before we really just like promote it. But also, like you said, Houston has been the focus, establishing that strong foundation before we recreate that model in other cities.
Okay.
But we do have 10 major cities that we're looking at. I just mentioned Atlanta, Dallas, New Orleans. We also have the DMV area, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Detroit. Am I missing somebody? I think that's
Hey, man.
So we have a game plan. We have
and y'all have I mean, and I asked, like, y'all have a team here in Houston that's helping you, or is it still just you and wife? You just knocking it out?
So we've had people that work with us in the past. But as a team, nah.
Bro, y'all are like the ultimate power couple hustle team.
I'm gonna tell you the secret. I take that back. We do have a team. We don't have an official Black Book team.
Yeah, like they're not like employees, but y'all have like contractors and stuff.
We have a lot of partnerships. So we have solid partners. Because Black Book is really, like you asked me, is it a chamber? It's really an ecosystem. It's a community. Okay. So when I better understand your business and I better understand somebody else's business, I can know, like, okay, it's like really I have all the pieces to the puzzle and I just need to connect the dots.
Gotcha. Okay, so give us a case study, of kind of an example of, I guess, a partnership that you've brokered or a business that y'all have helped grow. Because I mean, you think about, I think about the Keith Lee effect, right? And kind of what he can do in terms of like just flipping a switch and somebody's business changes, right? So I'm sure you guys have had a similar, version of that where y'all able to like, change someone's business. Kind of give me an example or give us a kind of a case study of kind of some of those things y'all done.
I'm gonna shout out my girl Keisha. Keisha is Keys Creative Catering. Okay. She has a catering company. I think it was like right around COVID. It may have been like right after COVID. She was getting ready to shut her business down. Wow. All of a sudden, she said she just saw an influx of people reaching out to her to book her for catering events, book her, to support her and come out and do different things. And I ran into her at Bar 5015, and she was just like, oh my gosh, it was like she saw a celebrity, and I was just like, I was kind of like back. I don't know you, but she was like, oh no, I'm sorry. Then she introduced herself. She was like, y'all really helped me. She almost broke down in tears, bro. Wow, man. She was like, y'all really helped me, and this was like I said, this was like 2020, right? Yeah, right. This was 2020. She was like, saw an influx of business. I was just about to quit, shut down everything. I just saw an influx of business, and I kept asking people, where are you finding me? And she says, Black Book. So one of the things we used to do was just put people on the platform, whether we knew you or not. I'm putting you on. Okay, yeah. So she was one of those people. Like she didn't sign up for it or anything. She was like, I'm telling people to sign up, so on and so forth. I would say last year, because it just don't stop there. Right. Last year we did a partnership. We do a partnership with Chase Bank, and we have a good relationship with Chase, JP Morgan Chase, and we were doing a vending event at their call center. So the vendors would come to their call center, and the people in the call centers, like thousands of people, would come and shop with these vendors. So we put up like this vendor space for them, and she was there. But one of the requirements to be a vendor at that event is you have to go through 2 trainings with Chase. And she came to me after the trainings, oh my gosh, y'all did it again. Like she was like, I didn't know I needed all of this information. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like it works. Like, Black Book really, really works. And that's not the only story. It's several stories that are like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's incredible. I love that. And I think that's so empowering for a business like that to have somebody that's advocating for them. And I think at that point in the business, just being able to just like help somebody, like, hey, we got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know now y'all are charging, but it's still the same concept, right? Because it's a valuable service at the, you know what I mean? It's at this point. So like, you know, to uphold the brand standard, there's got to be exchange of value, right?
Absolutely.
And so I guess at this point, are y'all even doing like business consulting? I guess how are y'all helping businesses at this point beyond just the promotional aspect of it?
Right.
You know, how I guess what does that look? I know I think you mentioned workshops and stuff earlier, but like, who are those catered to? Are those catered toward the startup business, or y'all catering that more toward the more established businesses? Or I mean, assuming both, but kind of talk about that.
It's both. It's both. You asking
People
in terms of how like the business consulting piece. Yeah, we do that. We do that as well.
Okay.
So you could do like that one-on-one session.
And do they get that as being a member? Do they get that automatically, or is that like an additional service?
No. It's an additional service.
Okay, got you.
So the cost to be on a platform is very minimal, right? So just to like sign your business up, it's like $50.
Okay.
And that's $50. It's not an annual thing. It's a one-time fee for now.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
It's a one-time fee.
And people go to the website or the app.
Yeah, you go to the website.
Okay.
So you go to blackbookhouston.com /promote.
Yeah.
And then it'll pop up. It'll ask you to put in your information.
Okay.
And there's different packages. So you could get like a combo package where you get listed and I come out, shoot a video, all that kind of stuff. Or you come on our podcast and all of that. It's all the information is in there. So you're spending anywhere from $50. I think the highest package may be $500 as like a starter package.
Okay.
But you're gonna get a return on your investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I just did a consultation with somebody. Shout out to William Johnson Jr.
Okay.
Got to give him a shout out, man.
Yeah.
He got this robot, right? And the robot is off the chain.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much information, but I just did a consultation with him and I connected him with some resources.
Okay.
So now he's looking to get some major funding.
Okay.
So yeah, like we do that. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean?
So
yeah. And what I love about y'all's business model is it's so efficient.
Yeah.
And it's so sustainable because, I mean, y'all don't have a brick and mortar, right?
No.
So y'all just
we have an office space.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So that's where y'all do meetings and stuff.
Yeah. Shout out to the collective. So you gotta give all these shout outs because it's black owned. It's black owned too.
Yeah, I love that.
Shout out.
A co-working space.
Yeah.
Or what? Okay.
So the collective is actually a venue, but it does have a co-working space.
Okay.
So it's 32 other black owned businesses in there.
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out, man. Hold on. Let me explain something to y'all right now. The collective. Like, if you don't know about the collective, you got to check out the collective. They got a venue space to where you can have events. They have these ballrooms. They have like 3 ballrooms. I think it's like roughly like 20,000 square feet. Wow. You can have an event up to like 2,000 people. They doing it. But the collective is also connected to the Money School. The Money School is a black-owned private school that's from, they have a nursery too. So it's like from infants all the way up to, I want to say, the 8th grade. Oh. Right? Black owned. Shout out to Miss Patricia Williams. If you don't know who Miss Patricia Williams is, she's a phenomenal woman. She's over the Money School. She's also one of the owners of the collective, along with some more people. Miss Williams' son, her sons is Ben Williams and Chris Williams. Chris, shout out to Lucille's, owns Lucille's, which is black owned restaurant here in Houston. And Ben Williams, shout out to Highway Vodka, owns Highway Vodka. It's black excellence all around here. And I feel like Black Book is like, all right, let me tell you about it.
Yeah, I love that, man. Y'all are such an advocate. I actually watched literally last night an episode on YouTube. This food critic, his name was Anthony Bourdain, and he came to Houston like early 2000. It was like 2014 or something. He went to Burns Barbecue. And it was so fascinating to just look at, like, to hear Houston described in 2014, and just looking at fast forward, and I'm just like, bro, that's crazy. Like, I mean, like, so much has changed, but so much hasn't changed at the same time. It's like we're just a culture of people who care about food, care about each other. And I know, like, I wasn't here during the pandemic, but I know after George Floyd's death, I think there was a lot of unity that happened in Houston. For sure. And so I think that's fostered even a faster growth within the community is people. And I feel this feels like home to me because this is the first place I've ever been to where Black excellence is celebrated, but it's also backed up by just cold, hard facts.
Yes.
Like, it's not just
Yes.
like an aspirational thing. It's like,
Yeah.
yo, we have all the business receipts. So,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, you do. You do.
I mean, luckily we got the businesses
Yeah.
and they're sustainable. These aren't
Yeah.
people who are just running like small business. These are people who are running legit,
Awesome.
you know what I
Yes.
mean, businesses
Yes.
and are making a big deal. And so I think it's just like the environment here to me is like nothing I've ever seen before. And I think it's I'm glad that you guys are at the forefront of that, because
I appreciate that, man. Definitely.
somebody's got to organize the chaos.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to like,
Yeah.
hey, y'all, here's what it is. Like, we
Yeah.
got all this stuff, but here's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's something I want to ask you, because I recently, I've had encounters with business owners who, just for the sake of just a no better term, are energy vampires, right? In terms of,
Yeah.
you know, they want to promote their business. They feel entitled to your time because, oh, I might be doing something similar. They see what you do.
Mhm.
So how do you guys protect yourselves from, and maybe the firewall is pricing at this point, you know what I mean? But how do y'all protect yourself from people who are maybe aren't quality business owners but still want your services, or haven't done the work, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they just want to use you, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all get inundated with that.
Man,
you know?
listen. So I'm a very spiritual person. I
Mhm.
stay prayed up. One of my
Yeah.
prayers recently has been asking God to align us with people who aren't like that. So asking
Okay.
God to align us with people who basically are going to help us with our vision, as well as aligning us with people who we can help them with their vision that's not energy vultures. So staying prayed up, saying that prayer, that helps. And it also is kind of like when you develop relationships with people, you kind of feel like a certain energy, right? Like when I walked up to you at the Battle of the Bands event, it was just like a gravitating, cohesive energy. So it felt right.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, okay, cool. I don't get that with everybody. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes, and honestly, in Houston, it's a lot of politics. There's a lot of silos. There's a lot of, you know, you have your black people that's doing stuff in certain silos. So you hear the noise. You just have to learn how to gravitate through the noise, understand what's what, and God's gonna bless you, right? What's for you is for you, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of, like I said, feel a person's energy, feel them out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't waste time. And then I give myself, here's one. I give myself, and my wife helped me with this, 20-minute rule. People in, right?
Okay.
There's certain people, when I talk to you on the phone, I used to just talk. Now you got 20 minutes, right? But certain people I answer the phone for. Straight up, I'm gonna just be real with you.
Yeah.
Certain people I look at your phone call and be like, I'm not answering it, because the few conversations that we've had previously went nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm a very busy individual.
Right.
And I understand other people are busy as well. So I want to be conscious of people's time. But I separate people and put them in categories.
Okay.
Yeah. If I answer that phone for you, you got 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You better maximize that 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, there's few individuals like my mom, my dad, you know what I mean, my brothers and stuff like that, who will get more than 20 minutes. But for the most part, I'm timing you. I'm looking at that phone. 18 minutes. Boy, you got 2 minutes. Yeah, but nah, 20 minutes, man.
Bro, that's so good, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, you know, I'm in a season of my business where I'm in the hustle part that you guys described earlier, where like, I got to get an episode out every week. I got to be, for every person who comes to my podcast, I got to talk to 2 or 3 people that maybe won't come on the podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Filtering through, like, who are the people, you know, I'm also getting into real estate. So obviously kind of building connections there. And so it's like, you want to be open, right, to connect with people. You want people to feel approachable to you.
Right.
And then learning, okay, now that I'm letting people have access to me, okay, how do I now protect who gets access, who doesn't, right? And that's something I didn't really, you know, I just started kind of recognizing now, okay, ooh, like that, I didn't feel good after that conversation. Like, oh, I didn't feel like that. I didn't like the way that came across. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because like some people are good at masquerading who they are sometimes, right? So when you said you got to be prayed up, I'm like, okay, that's on my mind now, because I'm like, hey, Lord, I need you to protect me from people who I can't necessarily recognize until, dang, I'm an hour into the conversation, I'm stuck with this person. I'm like, okay, this is like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this conversation?
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get yourself out of the conversation. Like, hey, man, I gotta go. I appreciate. Listen, you know. Yeah. And sometimes I know, you know, being a Christian entrepreneur, you kind of feel bad at times, because you kind of you feel like you're wronging somebody by not allowing them to have access to you.
Yeah.
But you gotta think about, I don't know where it was in the Bible, but I remember there was a story about Jesus walking through a crowd, and the lady was like, "If I could just touch him," right? Now think about how crazy this sounds. Jesus was walking through the crowd. When the lady touched him, he said, "Who touched me?" Right? Because the lady took something away from him, and that's how I look at it. Like if Jesus could feel his energy being taken away, we can too, right? You know what I mean? And we got to be careful who we give our energy to. You know what I mean? So,
bro, that is so good, bro. What was that verse you shared at the Battle of the Bands, bro? Because
oh man, that's my favorite. That's
Everybody
my favorite
in the crowd
verse.
was shook.
That's my favorite verse, man. It's James chapter 1 verses 2-4.
Okay.
Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of any kind, because the testing of your faith develops perseverance, and perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be whole and complete, not lacking anything. And that's just a testament to shout out to, man, I'll get these on shout outs. shout out to my cousin Jacob Roy. He taught me that verse when I was in college, man. He lives in Waller. He's a pastor out there.
Okay.
And man, shout out to Jacob, man. That's my guy. Shout out to Jacob Roy. Shout out Jacob Roy, man. He put that verse on my heart and on my mind back when I was maybe like a sophomore in college, and it just helped me through so many trials, so much stuff. And if you go into verse 5-6, I'm not a pastor or a preacher or none of that, but if you go and read further along, it tells you, if you're lacking anything, ask God. But when you ask, man, you gotta ask in confidence. You gotta really believe. That's one thing I tell my wife. Shout out to my wife one more time. But I really tell my wife, like, hey, I don't worry about the how. That's God's job to figure out the how. If we say we're gonna do something, let's pray about it. And we decide to move forward with it, just ask God. He gonna give it to us.
I love that.
And she be like, how we gonna? I ain't worried about the how. That's God's job. He gonna figure that out.
Bro, and I feel like there's a that comes with knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, because I feel like that's the kind of energy I would have with my parents. Like, if I call my parents and I need something, I'm not calling them like, "Hey, Dad, like, can you, you know what I mean?" I'm like, "Hey, Dad, can you help me?" And it's like, if the answer is yes or no, like, I mean, it's just like I have a degree of authority in that conversation, and I feel like so many times, and I'm guilty of this. I approach God as if I'm not a son. Like, I approach God as if he don't delight in me. And I approach God in a whole different energy. And I'm like, Lord, like, can you please help? And I feel like there's one thing, I got married 2 years ago, and my wife is the one thing I don't play around with God.
Congratulations.
I'm like, Lord, protect my wife. And there's authority with that, right?
And
I'm like, I don't even apply it to my own life, for my own business. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, Lord, you better protect my wife now. Like, you know what I mean? When I'm not there, you better have her back. And I feel like I hear that in your voice. I'm like, I really want more people to approach God with that energy. And I feel like it's kind of like, we still have that. We act like we're not covered by grace. Like, we still act like we got to be good enough to go to God like that. And I do think that there are genuinely things that the Lord asks of us that I don't know disqualifies you from that, in terms of like, if you're not living the way God has called you to live, like, can you go to God with that same authority and that same expectation? I think yes, but like, also I'm like, you also gotta be, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't really know what the answer is to that question. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like what you just said though. If you handling your business with your mom, your dad, and you ask them for something, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get it. It's like, as a kid, hey, did I clean my room? Did I do all my chores? Now I'm gonna go ask to go outside. The answer should be yes. If you're not doing all of those things and you go ask that, can you really ask with confidence? So I think I think the same.
Because I just don't want people to feel like they gotta be perfect. You know what I mean?
You don't have to be perfect.
Because like, I mean, like, at that one point, it's like, how perfect are you? Like, how clean was your room? Like, okay, I got most everything, but I left a few things. Okay, can I still go outside and play mom and dad? You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Because I cleaned my room, but I stuffed everything in the closet.
Exactly,
like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, I mean, hey, was that true obedience? I don't know. My parents had this rule when we were growing up. You say you obey all the way, right away with the happy way.
Oh wow!
If you didn't check all three of those things, you didn't actually obey. So if they said, "Hey, go take out the trash," and you was whining the whole time, take out the trash, you didn't obey. You know what I mean? And
that's
like,
real.
That was a really high standard, right? And at the same time, and I feel like at times that's why I had to work through things with the Lord, because like, I had that standard growing up where I'm like, hey Lord, like, I did most of what you told me to do, but hey, like, you know what I mean? Not everything. So I think it's a part of like, okay, we have to learn our relationship with the Lord has to grow. And that's something I honestly need to be more prevalent on this podcast, is really challenging people to grow closer to God, which is why I appreciate you kind of bringing that up, because I think there has to be a closeness that helps us navigate our relationship with the Lord, because if we don't have that closeness, we don't really kind of know how to approach him. right?
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I need to, if I'm in a season where I'm just being rebellious with the Lord, I feel like I gotta approach God differently.
No,
And I gotta
for sure.
come with some like
Yeah.
humility and like, hey
Yeah.
Lord, like, hey man, like I haven't really, you know what I mean? But then there's also I have some authority when I'm prayed up and I feel like I'm walking in purpose. Then I have a little bit more of
No, for
some
sure.
behind me. So
100%.
there's a verse similar to what you said in James. There's a verse in Romans 3-5, it says, not only so, we also glory in our suffering because we know that suffering produces perseverance,
Yes.
perseverance, character, hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our heart through the Holy Spirit. So that tells me there's a progression in you got to persevere to build character to get hope. And once you got hope you can't lose.
Yep.
And it's like, dang, where am I at in that progression? And I think you can go back and forth. But like, tell me, what do you think about that in terms of that progression? Because I mean, you guys had to persevere.
For sure.
And then like, do you feel like you're in a hope stage, or are you back to? Do you think it's like recycles? Like after you get the hope, okay, now you got to go back to perseverance. Like, where do you think?
No, I definitely feel like it recycles, right? You have your phases. Dang, it's a quote. It's like you're either walking into a blessing, you're in that blessing, or coming out of a blessing, right?
Yeah.
And that can be applied to perseverance. You're either walking into a trial, in the midst of a trial, or coming out of a trial. But like that verse said, you got to have that perseverance so that one, we can always come back to God. We can always rely on God because God is everlasting. So it's like we know we need God in all that we do.
Right.
If you ever forget that, hey, God's like, hey, let me put something on your mind real quick so you can remember. So you won't forget. But you're like, God, I already remember. So then there comes that point of, it's just like lifting weights when you work out. You work out to failure.
Yeah.
So at some point you're gonna fail in your business, in your personal life, or just in your everyday life. But what failure actually is that you persevering through something. I always tell people, whether I'm speaking on a podcast to the youth or whatever, you can't have a testimony without being tested. So you have to be tested. That's just part of it.
Yeah, man, that's good. I feel like that's growth, is understanding, embracing the tests. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Embracing and like, hey, Lord, and I feel like, I to be honest, bro, I haven't had a lot of tests in my life. Like, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of things that have gone really well for me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, ooh, like, I'm like, Lord, like, you know what I mean? What's coming down the pipe for me? But like, at the same time, I think you can't predict that. You just got to take it as it comes. And also, I think there's some lessons that we can learn. We don't have to be tested to learn those lessons. Like,
no, for sure.
If you, I forgot, there's another verse that talks about, like, if you embrace humility, you don't have to go through the challenges sometimes. And so it's like, let me be proactive with this learning, so I don't got to learn the harder way. So yeah, man, I think that's a really good thought experiment. I really hope that challenges and encourages some people, because I think that's real life, and I think anyone who owns a business knows exactly what we're talking about.
Because a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So it sounds like you learn from a lot of other people's mistakes.
I have, and I think some of my mistakes, I maybe don't know they're mistakes yet. Like, I don't know. Maybe I done made some mistakes and it ain't come around yet, but I don't know. We'll see. This definitely has been a hard year, and I've definitely learned a lot. And I think this podcast has been a saving grace for me, because it's been able to be a place of like, okay, this is where I know I can go to serve people. Similar to you guys, right? I mean, y'all were just serving people, being a blessing, and then as you were doing that, you continue to grow and evolve and create something. So I definitely think there's something where I don't think there's a destination for this podcast and for this platform. Like, there's no A to B mountaintop experience. It's like, hey, we're just on a process, on a journey. I want to invite other people who are journeymen too, who can just come journey with me, right? And so it's kind of where we're going. Where are y'all going with Blackbook? Last question for you. Like, what is the future of Blackbook? Are y'all gonna be a full service marketing agency? Are y'all gonna be a whole publication? I mean, kind of, y'all already are your publication, but are y'all gonna? I mean, maybe it's, growing those other markets you mentioned. Kind of what's next?
That's exactly what the future is. I'm not gonna give away too much information.
Oh man, we ain't getting that exclusive. But, we gotta use our exclusive button up.
But definitely tapping into other cities.
Okay.
Definitely tapping into other cities.
Okay.
So stuff. We got some stuff coming though.
Okay. Cool. All right, I got this new segment coming up for the Blueprint podcast. We got this game I found on TikTok, and it's kind of a conversation game, right?
Okay.
And so I got 3 questions here, and I'm gonna read them to you. I'm gonna give them to you, and then I want you to pick the one that you want to answer. And I also have to pick it. I have to answer the question too. And so these are like real, honest. Like, I don't want my people to be vulnerable on the pod. Nothing too invasive though. So I ain't trying to get your deepest darkest secrets. But okay. So question 1 or question A. are you content with your life? Okay, so I'm gonna hand these to you so you can look at them and pick the one you want. Question 2 is, what is something you've done that would make your younger self proud? Okay,
Dang.
that's 2. And then if you could change one aspect of your life, what would it be? So I want you to like pick one of those questions, answer it, and then I'll go next.
If you could change one aspect of your life, what would it be?
Okay.
I wouldn't change anything.
Okay.
Because I feel like you have to go through what you go through. It goes back to the verses that we read.
Yeah.
The one from James and the one from Romans. You have to go through what you go through so that you could persevere and have the tools necessary for you to, be successful, right? One of the biggest things in my life that just changed the whole trajectory of my life was I was on probation for 5 years. I almost killed one of my classmates when I was 11 years old. So I was on probation, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon from the age of 12 all the way to 17.
Wow.
One of the things that I always tell the youth when I go mentor the youth is I wouldn't change that. Like people like, will you go back? Would you? No, I wouldn't, because that got me the counseling that I needed. It got me the resources that I needed and the tools that I needed for me to go on and be successful, as successful as I am today.
Wow.
So yeah, I wouldn't change any aspect of my life.
Yeah.
I would just embrace it more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. And I feel like that's something that like, yeah, if I look at my life and I'm like, what would I change? Because like everything has brought me to something.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we filmed the episode before this, and that guest picked this question too, and I had a real deep answer for that one, man. It was deep, man. I got crazy. This answer I'm gonna give isn't as deep as the last one with Taffany, but I think that something I would change about my life is, bro, I wouldn't have started drinking, and like I never was like alcoholic or anything, but like I feel like around when I guess it was like 2019, 2018, I started looking for other ways to cope with my discomfort.
Got you.
Right? And I feel like drinking was just a really easy one that I think I didn't realize it opened up. Okay, now that's a lifestyle choice in terms of, okay, I need to go to other things to make me feel more comfortable in God, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one that like, I mean, this year I honestly I stopped drinking just for health reasons. Like, I mean, I gained a bunch of weight during the pandemic. I'm like, I need to cut some weight, so let me quit drinking. Let me save some money. And I drink on occasion. It was my birthday yesterday on Wednesday, and I had a drink. I had a cocktail. You know what I mean? But like, it was something I was doing to celebrate. But that's something like really practical. I'm just would stop drinking, and I feel like it would have kept me more mentally sharp.
For sure.
Because I would have been like, okay, listen, I'm not going to these other things to find comfort. I would have gone straight to the Lord. I would have, pressed into health and fitness and those other ways to get my needs met from an emotional standpoint. And so that's one thing that I would change. But like, I think even with that, there's some things that like, hey, there's people that I met after I had a drink and I was, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, cool. Like, I got some cool homies that I met, whatever. But
do you still drink? Do you still drink?
Yeah, just occasionally, just like on occasion. So like on our anniversary or my birthday, or my a friend's birthday. You know what I mean? I at that point, it's typically like, I just have like 1 or 2 drinks. I'm not trying to just be like, hey man, like what up?
Can I share something? This is exclusive too. I've never said this on the podcast. I've never mentioned this publicly.
Okay.
A few of my close people know. I've had people tell me that I shouldn't share this, but I'm gonna share this because I think it's super important. You talked about drinking, and that triggers something in me.
Yeah.
I went a whole year without drinking. I stopped drinking, and the reason why is because I realized like I used to drink so much. To the point, my fraternity brothers could tell you, I would drink so much to the point the next day I wouldn't even have a hangover. Wow. It's crazy, right? Yeah. My body got so accustomed to drinking. Yeah. It was just like natural. People used to ask me, was I okay? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm
this
good.
Was like in college or what?
Oh, this was like college, like even as an adult. Like this was up until like, I would say 2022. Okay. I was drinking and I realized it was a lot of grief that I wasn't addressing. There was a lot of depression that I wasn't addressing. Like I just started, when I would drink, I would feel so sluggish the next day, but it wasn't a hangover or anything like that. I would just feel depressed. And I got to a point in February of 2022, I believe it was, no, February 2023. It was Fat Tuesday. Right? Dang. And I just went super hard, just like ridiculously crazy, just drinking. And it was that night I had realized that I had been drinking so hard because I was dealing with so much grief. I had 8 people within those like last 3 years upon like that date
Okay.
that had passed away. The people that was close to me. It was like one of my best friends from sixth grade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My uncles, my aunties, like close people to me that just like died, depressed, all that kind of stuff. My wife, she was pregnant with my daughter, and she was just getting out of that postpartum depression with my son, right?
Yeah.
I was dealing with the workload of being Mr. Blackbook Houston, being a father, being a husband, working with uh, um, a organization, a nonprofit organization at the time, trying to help them develop, all of their stuff and infrastructure,
Yeah.
and just the whole stress of all of that, not feeling valued, you know what I mean, at work, not feeling value at home because my wife has all of these different emotions that's going through her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's not doing it on purpose, but
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, the emotions of having a kid, feeling a certain type of way, but just because you feel that way doesn't mean that it's truthful. So just like me feeling undervalued, me feeling, you know what I mean, on myself, and I got to a point where it's just like I didn't want to be here no more.
Wow.
And I was very close to committing suicide. I
Wow.
was in the closet. I had my gun loaded, lock and loaded, everything. And it was the night after I had just went out and drink, and was drinking. My wife, she left. She was going to the gym to work out. I was at home. It was just me and my son by myself. And my son woke up. He was like, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," looking for me. And it stopped me. It stopped me. So I called my cousin Jacob.
Yeah.
He came to the house. I rededicated my life to Christ. I went a little over a year without drinking. Do I drink now? The same scenario as you, but it's like, bro, I don't even really have a taste for alcohol like that. I do like a celebratory drink or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, or something rare like that. But I stay away from it. You know what I mean?
Wow. Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, I mean, we can't end the podcast. I gotta hold on. I gotta have some follow up question on that because like I feel like you just dropped the bomb on me. But like, I think that that's such a good point. It's like, I mean, how many times are we struggling with grief and we don't even recognize what it like? Do we recognize the emotions that we feel?
Right.
And I think that's something I learned in therapy this year. It was like getting married will open. You don't even know who you are until you get married. You like, hold up, I don't need this stuff going on. I don't even know what's going on right now. I didn't even know emotions. I don't even know how to say, oh, this is the emotion that I feel. I don't even know what it is. So, like, I mean, what would be your advice to someone that you think might be in a similar situation as you were?
Man, so like when I talk to my friends about it, they felt betrayed, right?
Yeah, because you didn't come to them, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, you didn't come to me. But sometimes for me, I want people to come to me. Hey, have a real conversation with me. Ask me how I'm doing, right? Because I felt like I was always that friend, that frat brother, or that person who's checking on everybody else. But who's checking up on that person that's checking on everybody else?
Yeah.
Who's helping the helper, right? But to a person that's in that situation where you're the helper and you don't feel like you're being helped, sometimes you just gotta, vocalize it, open up, and just be transparent about where you are.
Yeah.
And then counseling is like ultimately important.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially in the Black community, we think counseling is a negative thing, but it's not. You know what I mean? That's a tool that you can have in your arsenal so that when you start feeling triggered, I recently just lost one of my cousins, and I talked to my wife and opened up. I said, "Hey, look, I'm not feeling my best right now. I just lost my cousin; he just passed away, and I'm not feeling my best. I'm feeling how I felt, when I got to that point, but that's not on my mind, right? Drinking is not even on my mind. Typically, in that same situation or scenario, I would go have a drink, but because I went through counseling, because I, got re-engaged and rededicated my life to God, it's been an easier process. Does it hurt? Absolutely. But it's now a lot easier to navigate through that grief because one, I remember that closet. So I always go back to that closet anytime, even before I drink. If I'm going out and even think about having a drink, I always go back to that closet. And what I mean by that closet is I was in my closet when I was about to kill myself. So I always go back to that closet and think like, all right, bro, can you handle this? If you do decide to drink, know your limitations, understand all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, like open up and talk to people. Because you never know, man. Behind all these different smiles, you never know what somebody's going through.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wow. Yeah, that's so good. Thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Always. Absolutely, man.
Always.
Shout out to Black Book Houston. I got to get my shout outs in.
Yeah,
man. Where all my people at? Shout out Collab Social, our studio, Khalil Martin. I don't know. Shout out. I mean, yeah, just shout out to you. If you're still watching and you subscribed, shout out to you. Thank you for supporting the Blueprint Podcast. We'll see y'all next time.